Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome to season two for the love of Tinsel, your safe and cozy place to lean into your love of romantic movies, romantic holiday movies.
Of
I'm
course.
Aisha,
And I'm Angela. And
and welcome. Right?
welcome. Yeah. Okay, so today is October 30th and
Yep.
tomorrow is Halloween.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's a crazy time to be recording a Christmas slash holiday podcast and have, the wreaths and the lights on, which I do have behind me for anyone who's checking out the video or can't see the video. Um, but what I want to talk about with our friend Aisha here is how are you feeling about this new trend of horror holiday films? Curious. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts?
Um. Okay. Listen. I was already in TJ Maxx. I saw that they just skipped over fall and went straight to Christmas and holiday decorations, left out poor Thanksgiving, as if it wasn't worth mentioning.
Well,
That that's just it's just wrong. Some of us actually invested in these decorations and we'd like a moment for it to be up before you got to start on something else. But I just think this mushing of time and holidays together is unnecessary. It's unacceptable. There doesn't need to be a horror Christmas movie. It's just why? Why? I mean, there's already Halloween. Give it its moment. Give it its moment
hmm
to of gore and to scare and all that other good stuff. I'm not watching them. I'm not. I've been very clear about why I watch these holiday movies, and a blood fest is not on my list.
I guess I have a question about it though. To your point about a blood fest, like how are we handling death in these movies and stabbing and killing people around the holiday? I don't understand. I guess I mean
Right.
obviously they're not going to be earnest movies, they're going to be maybe the family comes together to kill the person that's trying to kill them and that's how they
Okay.
get close.
There's the
I
holiday spirit.
don't know.
I don't. I just.
I have no idea. I have no idea. It doesn't
But
make
there's a
any
lot
sense.
of them,
There are
and
a
not
lot of
just on
them.
like one channel. Across the channels, there's a bunch of them, which
Yeah, I
is.
mean,
But
it definitely goes into the whole genre. Like, movie wise, we are definitely so genre focused now in a way that I think is a little over the top because, with all of these genres, things have to adhere to very specific tropes and
right.
why can't movies just be movies? But regardless, so because horror is doing so well and Christmas movies are doing so well, it's a logical connection.
It
But
seems lazy. Darn it.
I mean,
It's
I'm
just
curious. I'm
it's
curious.
it's just lazy. Let's have like, I don't know, some Martin Luther King fighting, you know, demons over Christmas time at this point. Like they're just combining things that just don't need to happen.
I would watch that though. I'm not gonna
See,
lie.
that see, you're part of the problem.
I know. So, okay, I just wanted to ask you your thoughts about that. So, we wanted to talk a little bit about like what comfort that we found in these movies. And it's probably appropriate in that we see these movies for
Right.
comfort. So
Right.
therefore this notion of like a horror one is a little bit like not really what we
Oh my
signed
goodness.
up for.
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly.
Like I really get my earnest like these movies are earnest and I like it and that's why I watch them.
Right.
Um I mean, but I'm open to see. I'm gonna see one of the horror films, just but that's an
Okay,
aside.
I want you to do that, and I don't
Yeah.
even want you to feel pressure to tell me about it. Just
hmm
you can
Well,
just be like, "I did it. I'm okay."
I'm
Or "I'm not
probably gonna
okay." That you can tell
I'm
me.
gonna tell our listeners about it
Okay, and
because if
I
I did
m
it.
right, and we can all hear about it together. There we
Exactly.
go, that would be
Aisha will
beautiful.
not be participating in that one. But
Right, right, that's not gonna happen, but, I mean, speaking of just watching for comfort, I think that kinda leads us into, like, our topic of this episode. It's around, like, what comfort, have you found in these movies? And to be honest with you, I have found the real world to be pretty horrific. Like, I don't even need
Mhm.
the horror films for that. That's like CNN already is filled with things that I find to feel like it's some horror movie. But I think that that's part of, for me anyway, that's part of why you go to these movies is for different levels of comfort, and why we're okay with watching these movies even though we know that, there's a certain formula to them. So what kind of comfort do you find? Like what do you get
So
out of them?
So for me, it's all about nostalgia, and there's kind of two subgenres, I would say.
Okay.
So first, there's kind of the childhood Christmas movie, like A Christmas Story, even Home
Oh, right.
Alone. So those kind of films. And I remember when I was thinking about this, about being a kid and loving the Christmas movies that were like everybody just kind of left you alone. And that was scary for other
Right.
people, but I really just loved, like, I could just be in the house by myself, do my own thing.
That was the
um
thing, the autonomy of it all.
yeah, that was a thing. So there's a whole bunch of 90s Christmas movies that give me a lot of nostalgia, and definitely kind of the ones around childhood, but also everyone knows one of my favorite films, which isn't a Christmas movie but is
I
basically a
think it
Christmas
counts.
movie.
It counts, it
Yeah,
counts, it counts.
because it was like before they made these movies in this way.
Right.
It's called While You Were Sleeping by Sandra Bullock. It is like one of my favorite films. And While You Were Sleeping is definitely its own genre. Like it's like and a lot of Christmas movies have taken from this sort of structure, because
Yes.
including the movie that I co-wrote and directed, A New Orleans Noel, which is just like a few things, which is falling in love with someone else's family. And
Yeah.
that's like a big part of While You Were Sleeping, and New Orleans Noel, and also like another film that, I watched recently, which I'll get into in a sec. And then there's also, for in New Orleans Noel, there's also kind of another trope that comes up in a lot of these movies. Not so much in While You Were Sleeping, but the whole um, two people in love who have a little bit of a past, right? And
Right.
so I, per Aisha's suggestion, watched a
Mhm.
movie that came out last year on Hallmark called An Unexpected Christmas. And it is starring Bethany Joy Lenz, who to me is One Tree Hill like forever. And
Sure.
and though One Tree Hill is for the generation like one generation younger than me, I did watch a little bit of One Tree Hill and still think of her that way. And Tyler Hines, who's in all so many Hallmark
He should
movies.
be. He should be.
Yes, should be in all of them. And An
Yes.
Unexpected Christmas. I'm just going to read you the little blurb. Um, I mean, it's Emily works at an ad agency and is sent to her ex's hometown before Christmas. She arrives at the train station as her ex is picked up by his family. I'm just going to tell you that when I copy and paste these, it is from this Hallmark site. I do not write these, and I feel I must say that because they are always like two sentences about what happens in the first 3 seconds, and you're like, but it's about
Girl,
exes
yes.
falling in
It's
love
so
and
much more than that. But those are
so
like
much
that's
more
the
than
range.
that.
Either they tell you
Hmm.
nothing or you watch the
Hmm.
trailer and they show you the whole freaking movie. Like that's
Yeah,
that's that's the range with these things.
exactly. So An Unexpected Christmas is definitely in the While You Were Sleeping genre of she falls madly in love with his family, and also part of the While You Were Sleeping Unexpected Christmas genre that many Christmas movies do is the pretending to be dating thing, or pretending to be together thing, or some degree of pretending in the relationship. And While You Were Sleeping, you'll remember that Sandra Bullock says that she's the fiance of Peter Gallagher,
Mhm.
who's in a coma. And the family thinks that he has this fiance, and it's through a bunch of shenanigans that she doesn't like intentionally does it. She sort of does what people do, which like to get into the hospital, you just sort of like say that, and then everyone thinks that she's the fiance, and she falls in love with the family and Bill Pullman, who's so cute in that movie.
He's
Um,
adorable.
he's really cute in that movie. So I feel like I keep coming back to While You Were Sleeping when I talk
It's
about
okay. It's
these genres,
okay.
but
It's
um,
okay. My
but
husband
it's
always goes back to
just
Die Hard. It's a thing.
I
Like
know,
that's his great
I
Christmas
know.
movie. All roads lead
Yeah,
back to
that's
Die
just
Hard.
mine. So, there's just kind of a few tropes that happen in these movies that whenever I see them come up, my heart kind of goes, like sighs, and it's like, I
Right.
know that it's
Right.
been happened a million times before, but I love the trope because also it works. I mean, there's certain things that just kind of work. When the person falling in love with the family, then the family has a reason to be there in the movies. It's not just they're like kind of sitting around. And usually, what I liked about this unexpected Christmas movie that was on Hallmark was there was a sister who had a
That's ex
storyline of her
that's exactly
own,
what I was gonna say. That
and
I
yeah,
love that.
yeah,
Also,
and
I
she was,
love how they portrayed their relationship between the brother and
mm-hmm,
sister, right? Like when
yeah,
that is the mark to me of a good one, and when you can do more than one great relationships in one movie,
mm-hmm.
to me that's some good writing.
Yeah. So that's kind of the ones that are, just some tropes, some things that I've loved in different movies from the past. Aisha, what about you?
Right. I love all the things that you said too, by the
Mhm.
way. I and since we've known each other for so long, I was actually with you for most of that journey.
No.
We love them together. I think for me, I love the romance of it all. I grew up with spending a lot of time with my great grandmother and also my great aunt, and both of them loved romance books, and
Hmm.
that was my escape. And when you talk about just comfort to me was hanging out with women that I love and reading these romance books. And, in the beginning, I would read books like Victoria Holt and just, you know, these meant to be's and kind of relationships. And then I got to more, sexier stuff later. But
Hmm.
I really I love that. I love the idea of relationships. And yes, am I well aware of the fact that these are predictable? Of
Hmm.
course I am. That's kind of one of the reasons why I love it. The rest of the world is not predictable at all. It's not about whether or not they're going to get together. It's more about how and the different ways, sometimes great, sometimes not, and all
Hmm.
the other different factors. And, one of my favorite tropes is the one where, it's the right person, but wrong time, or is it more right person, right time, but the wrong version of me, like how to get out of your own
Mm.
way.
Hmm.
And I love that only because I think at every point in my life, there's that point where you're sitting there and you're thinking about how much are you in your own way. And I think that
Hmm.
idea is really relatable and how you can get out of your own way and also, get what you want.
Yeah.
And there are so and, I used to watch everything from, Brigadoon, Singing in the Rain, even when Harry Met Sally. There's always this point where, you know, the the one of the protagonist has to figure out how much do I want this? And realizing they
Hmm.
want this more than something else and they have to get out of their own way in order to get it. And those tend to be my favorite movies, and I think not
Hmm.
all of them, I am not lying to you, not all of them, but
Hmm.
a lot of the the holiday movies that get it right is when they can add those elements in it, and then, sitting around, it's always the same time of year where I'm asking the same questions. I imagine a lot of other people who are watching these movies to escape and to find comfort are asking these same questions, and to see when you do that, you can get something positive. I love that. I love that. That's the comfort for me.
Yeah. When you said the get in your own way, that is actually part of the unexpected Christmas movie on Hallmark Channel that I was talking about. The guy on it has a whole, like, he is sort of standing in his own way because
Yeah.
he's a speechwriter, and it was interesting because he's a speechwriter who needed to write a big speech for a governor, I think the governor of Illinois, who's a black woman, by the way. And he, just gotta throw that in there. And he's having all this anxiety about writing, but it's not just like about writing this piece, it's also he's sort of getting in his own way because he broke up with the lead woman because her star was rising and he didn't really know what he was doing with his life. And I guess he thought that she would, it made no sense, like you were like, did what she obviously really likes you, I don't know. But I did feel like they did kind of, it's kind of real that way, in that
Yeah.
sometimes you
Yeah.
sabotage things.
Yep.
because of your own stuff. And I felt like actually in
Yeah.
that movie, I was surprised at how well that worked because I actually was
Yeah.
like, oh, I feel like I relate to that very much so.
Exactly.
Like I feel
Exactly.
like I've
Exactly.
done that. I
Right.
definitely I can remember times, one specific time that I did that,
Only
and
one? You're doing great.
only one, yeah, I can maybe two, but so I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I think that so that was this was actually normally with these movies. I don't expect or need a proposal. I thought he was gonna propose. I'm spoiler alert, but I thought he was gonna propose actually. And I guess it's more realistic that he didn't. But I was a little bit like they have this whole past, like
Right.
so.
If there's anyone that could have, it was that scenario as opposed to, "Oh, I saw you
Yeah,
at the market. A week later, will you marry me?" Yeah. That
yeah,
wasn't their
like
situation.
yeah, I actually felt, I gotta say, I kind of felt like he needed
Well,
to
you
propose. Like, I was like, wait, y'all dated before for a while. You know that you want to kind of have a life together. Like, he can't just be like, let's date again. I mean, he did that, but I was a little bit like, y'all could have, he needed to just say something more instead of pretty much like let's date again. But I still really liked it. But it was actually the first movie that I don't think I've ever had this feeling of like I normally don't think proposing makes sense in this movies, but this time I went, wait, why didn't you just do it?
as opposed to that, like, a year later. Yeah, which is, like, my
Exactly.
favorite
Be
thing
a
to
year
do.
later makes me crazy. Like I'm always like, come on, people.
But again,
Um,
I would rather that where the than the pull out of the ring after 2 weeks. I'm like, "Stop.
yeah,
Just
they don't
stop."
do that anymore. They don't do that anymore.
I think they've heard the feedback where because they were
Yeah.
doing that a lot before, and I was like,
Hmm.
You need to stop. It needs to
Yeah.
stop." But I'm
So
glad you liked it though.
I did. So Aisha, I know
Yes.
that we've basically already been talking about another movie, but let's talk
We
about another movie.
Well, okay, this time we'll give a it's a new movie.
It's a
It's
new
a
movie.
2023,
Yes.
and we both just watched it, and we didn't talk about it, so we could talk about it with you.
Yes. I mean,
What movie is that?
this is hot off the presses. I watched this in like
Hot
the
off the presses.
middle of the night last night. So it's called Joie Noel, and it
Mhm.
premiered October 29th on the Hallmark channel. And it stars JC Elliott, who I love. Um, I had to actually do a little JC Elliott research because she's a star in
Okay.
these things, in these like holiday films. But I realized that I didn't know what she was on because everybody on these things are on a TV show or they were on a big movie. So for her, it's Grey's Anatomy slash that
The
fire
story
show,
takes
that
place
fireman
in a
show that I'm on.
charming little French village
But Grey's
at
Anatomy
Christmas
for sure.
time.
I'm like station a number, but she's definitely
Gotcha.
on Grey's Anatomy. So what I love about JC Elliott is she's a woman with like some meat on her bones. You know,
She's curvy.
I
She's a
like
curvy
it.
goddess. Yes.
I can watch it and see clothes and think, maybe I would wear that. Maybe not. This movie, I wouldn't wear anything really she wore in this movie, but typically,
I we would talk
I
about it.
yeah.
We would talk about it.
So the movie is called Joie Noel, and I'm gonna read you the blurb that again I didn't write. It's just I'm just reading where it came from. Okay, so all right, here we go. When a romantic pairing of a Christmas market captures the imagination, oh, one more time. When a romantic painting, that makes more sense. When a romantic painting of a Christmas market captures the imagination of copy editor Leah, she is sent to France with pragmatic reporter Mark to uncover the mystery behind the artists.
Okay,
So,
question for you. Did you even say the guy's name? 'Cause or
oh, I
did you
said
just
Mark.
stop at her?
Oh, his name. Oh,
His
yeah,
real
sorry.
name.
Him. I was like, oh, some dude. Okay, the guy in the movie, his name is Brant Doherty,
Mm,
which is like a romance novel name if I've ever heard of
it
one.
is. It is.
Aisha says he's been in a bunch of these movies. I have to
So
say,
many.
I looked at him and thought he looks familiar, but I couldn't place it. I live in Louisiana, and I definitely thought you look like you attended LSU, and anybody who goes to who listens to this will know what that means. So
Wow. Okay.
nothing again, just he has like a broy, like a hot broy vibe.
He does.
So a fun fact
Maybe
about
that's
this
just good
movie,
acting. I don't know.
good acting, good acting. Fun fact about this movie is that it was co-written by Brant and his wife Kim Doherty, which I think is just a fun in terms of us being really interested in how these movies are made. I thought it was kind of cool that he was able to write this with his wife,
Right.
and so general thoughts. So first, let's talk about chemistry. Aisha,
Right.
what do you think?
Really? Okay.
Yeah, you go, girl.
Chemistry. Right.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, they really didn't have much,
Yeah,
unfortunately,
yeah,
from
yeah.
my end. I mean,
Mhm.
for me, again, I've already gone down the road, like, chemistry is a big thing because I love these
Mhm.
romance movies, and if I can't see you I'm not saying I have to throw down, but I'd have to
Mhm.
be like, "They were fine." I don't know, maybe making it with your wife could make the set a little bit funky. I
Well, I
don't
was
know.
wondering
All I
that
know
too. Yeah.
I don't know. It could be a little bit weird, but,
Mhm.
they were fine, but you
Mhm.
never got the impression that, there was any heat between them whatsoever. I also thought it really weird that they worked together, like a desk over and
Yeah.
nothing, right? It
Yeah.
wasn't like they didn't know each other.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, this wasn't and it's fun because 'cause I've seen her in other movies. The other movie that she was in where it was like the something of design. Do you remember
Oh
that
yeah.
one?
Something by design.
Sh
Yeah, holiday by
Yeah.
design or
It's like
something. Yeah.
Holiday by
Mhm.
Design or something like that,
Mhm.
but she had a lot more chemistry with that person, so I kind of
Yeah.
knew what she looks like when she had some
Yeah.
chemistry with
Yeah.
somebody, and so I also I could see its absence. So,
Yeah.
for me, that was not a high grade. What about you?
Um I agree. I didn't it wasn't that like it was I didn't see a lot of chemistry, but I think that part of why I didn't see it is tied to the script in terms of the setup
Right,
of how they knew each. So to your point, if they're sitting one desk away from each other, there needs to be some like simmering something so that like the best friend would say something like you may talk about him, but you think he's cute or something that like sets it up, right?
right,
It just seemed like they really couldn't be bothered with each other, but not like in a hot, sexy way, just in a like, she thinks he's stupid and he thinks that she's like uptight. Um, and so yeah, and like even when I could feel in the movie we're hitting the point when they should be getting together, I more just was like, I guess they're gonna get together at some point, but
right.
I don't really feel like it's like building me to that,
There was
like
no tension that you were like, "Oh, pull
yeah.
it together." There was
Yeah.
none of that. No, there was none
Yeah.
of that. Like, oh,
Yeah, it was that was kind of disappointing about it. I was like, "Oh, I mean, listen, he's very handsome and he's tall,
he's a
which I'm a
good-looking
fan
guy.
of.
I
He's
know
very
you are.
tall.
He's
Sometimes the height difference between the two of them was I felt for the people making the movie. I was like, "Oh god. She just has to stand on something." Like it's a lot. But yeah, I didn't think there was a lot of great chemistry there.
no.
Yeah, what about family storylines, anything?
I mean, there wasn't a lot of family,
Mhm.
in it, which I'm okay with. I mean, it was listen, this is one of those location places, right? And I
Right.
think that is the biggest issue about was that
Mhm.
it was beautiful. I love going to
Mhm.
different locations. I love the market. I love the art. I love that there was a
Mhm.
little magical realism in it.
Mhm.
That's always really fun. That's always a little bit different. So it was beautiful to look at, although the lighting was funky sometimes, where and I
Yeah.
didn't think it was on
Yeah.
purpose.
Yeah.
And I'm not a filmmaker, so if I
Mhm.
notice that, I know you guys didn't do that on purpose, but and it's not huge. It's just that it would show up and I could see it, right? So
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
always in that's an issue.
Yeah, so I really liked that it took place somewhere in France. Somewhere in France. That's 100% somewhere in Canada where people speak French, but it's totally cool. I did wonder about the
Yes.
French accents at times. Like I was like, oh, I'm not French, and I wonder how French people are gonna feel about this accent. Uh, but I liked the magical realism and the whole, it's all tied to this like love story from the past, and which
Right.
actually, and they were following the steps of this couple from the past, so that's why it had the bones to be a romantic
Yeah, but
thing.
the couple had more chemistry than them, and we never actually saw the couple.
Yeah, I
Like,
know. You
I
would hear about this couple from the past and be like, "Wow, they sound really racy. They sound in love."
exactly, exactly,
I want to
exactly,
see
exactly,
them.
exactly. Seriously,
Yeah, yeah.
I yeah, except, but
So,
I mean,
yeah.
they tried.
So the other thing I want to say about this is, for me and my rating of holiday movies also, I do factor in like the usage of the holiday beyond just kind of a time stamp situation. So it's like in English, this movie could have been made in April. It could have been made in November. It could have been made in January. It didn't actually feel like it had to be a holiday movie. And that, I don't love those as
That's
much, I
true.
think. I
That's true.
think that
That's true.
it's pretty much like the storyline was going along and there was like some holiday ornaments around, and um they did have a kid. That there's a girl who has a
Sophie,
Sophie has a really big part.
Sophie.
She
And
has a
I'm
very
gonna say something creepy. He had more chemistry with Sophie
Aisha.
than he did.
Aisha.
I know, and
I
I was
okay,
almost uncomfortable.
Aisha. I thought the exact same thing.
I was
I
like,
thought that too and thought, am I gonna say that? But yeah, he had way
I'm
more chemistry with
sorry.
Sophie. I mean, it was, and Sophie, we should set Sophie up a little bit. So Sophie was like,
It's gonna
the
sound bad.
it's gonna sound bad, but Sophie is the daughter of the person, I guess, who owns the inn or wherever that they're staying at, and she would constantly sort of like visit him, and there were these gnomes that she would leave around,
Yep,
and
yep.
she wanted to be a reporter too, and they would have these like long talks about the world and their place in it, and I was like, well, I
There
know,
was
yeah, that
listen,
was
there were
it was
some
weird.
scenes that were inappropriate. I'm gonna
I
just say
know,
it,
I
okay?
know,
That
I
she
yeah,
came into his room and sat on his bed, and I was like, "What
Aisha,
hotel is
yes.
this?" I was like, "I'm a parent. I'm uncomfortable. Who's watching
Aisha,
this little girl?
oh
Who
my
wrote
gosh.
that?" You
I
come on.
I
You didn't think that, like, did anyone ask somebody about this? Because that's not a
Aisha,
thing.
I thought the exact same thing, and I was like,
I was
"Am I
like,
being am I being weird? But this feels weird." But
that's how I know that I've
yeah,
crossed a certain age threshold where I'm like, now see, that just reads inappropriate to me as
yeah,
a parent.
it
Okay.
was inappropriate. It,
Yeah.
it was. I definitely. So Sophie also definitely a French Canadian girl.
Yeah.
They kind of needed to dial her down a little bit though. Like her
She
like
was
French accent was a
she was so French
little
1984 though. It was like it was
exactly.
old school.
I know. I was like, "Oh, come on, just talk to her." Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I love. There's so many things about this movie that I love, and I just like
Yeah.
was like, I don't know. And I am very generous, and I just was like, what? Why? I think that I also think if you're gonna have a storyline like this, you really need kind of more of a budget because they basically found a really cool kind of like probably a section of some like Canadian city
Yeah.
where the buildings looked really European and it could look like a market, and um but I mean we were in that market a lot.
A lot.
Um and they would just kind of move things around in that space. And sometimes you were in their rooms, but really you were just in that market. And I was just like, this is a movie, the premise that maybe not with this budget, like it's just kind of at a certain point you kind of wanted to see. Also, they didn't really say where in France. I mean, I guess they made up a town in France. And they did have some nice drone shots that to
Yeah,
intro wherever we were in
sure.
France.
Yep.
Um, but
So
yeah,
true.
I just was like, I just wish you had more money to make this movie. Yeah, I
I
mean,
wanted
but
I
yeah.
wanted more of other things. Like, if other things were there, I would have been okay with the lack
Hmm.
of budget.
Well, chemistry. I mean, yeah, I
That
think
would
the
have helped me out
chemistry is kind of a
that
hard
would help
thing.
a lot. I mean, I thought the story was cute. I mean, I thought her reasoning was extra, like, why
Hmm.
she needed it. I think they could have done a
Hmm.
little bit more nuancing around that, but
Hmm.
I liked the idea.
Hmm.
I didn't
Yeah.
think that I was gonna love the movie, but I liked the idea, which is why I was willing to watch it,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
it was okay.
Okay.
It
Mm.
didn't bring it home. For me, it didn't bring it
Yeah.
home. I
No,
just was
me
like,
neither.
even when he was home for, I don't wanna ruin the end, it was just like, I didn't
Yeah.
it was a little
Yeah.
anticlimactic. I wanted
They
better.
need like I thought there would be more. There's so many things that you can do too. I thought there would be more of like whenever you have these movies and they're staying at the same hotel, there's always like a lot of like, I guess I'm gonna go to sleep now.
The accidental
Yeah.
shirtless when she
Exactly.
catches him shirtless and she's like, "Oh my," and you were like, like, but she can't look away. Like, that
Yeah,
was it
yeah.
was right there for
It
them. It
was
was
right
low
there.
hanging fruit.
Right there. Of
Again,
like a
things you
and
can't do when your wife's on set, I guess. But you know what I mean? It was
I just
low
was
hanging
like,
fruit.
that man, that man looks good. And I was like,
And
just
actually, you see more of him in his other movies, so I know that they know. I just think they were trying to be, they were
yeah,
pulling back.
yeah.
That's all
I,
I'm saying.
yeah, I was just surprised. Also, I think that okay, so she has like a best friend at work who you see in the beginning and then you basically never see again.
He's at
Um
Christmas though.
he's at Christmas, which is weird. That Christmas tack on at the end, I was like,
They
guys,
needed to put a person of color in
guys,
there, and that's
guys.
where that person of color showed up, right?
Oh
They
my
were like,
lord.
"There are no people of color in France. Let's just throw the best friend
I
in." Just
know.
that's
Yeah.
all there was.
But I felt like actually usually they use that character a little more for like the whole, you call and it's like, how's it going? And I think you like him. I think there's chemistry. Like that helps
That's
kind of
true.
like ratchet
That's
up the
true.
it just helps the audience be like, oh, she really must like him, even if you don't see it.
The
I think,
denial, right? The shot
yeah.
of the denial and
Hmm.
yeah, none of it
I
was
think
there. None
we
of it was
needed a
there.
little bit of that
They
because
should
then
have
I just
called
would
us
be like,
Angela. We could have helped them. We
oh,
could
I
have helped.
know, I know,
We
I
could have
know.
helped. Do you have
Or
this scene?
yeah,
No, put it in. Do you have
yeah.
this? What? Put it in.
I
Yep.
know. Because having him have a sounding board of a young girl was weird.
And
Because
that's how we're gonna conclude that.
that's how we're gonna conclude it. Yeah. So yeah. Okay, so my score. My score. Oh wait, so it's out of
I
10.
think I snorted. I'm sorry. Okay.
So I'm gonna give this. Oh, this is a harsh one. I don't go this harsh, but I'm gonna
You
give this
never
one
I'm
a
always harder than you.
I'm gonna give this one a 6 out of 10.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
wow.
really harsh. I feel really bad. I don't go this low. I
You
do
never
not go
go
this
this
low.
low.
I know. It's just like, it's just, I can't give it a 7 because there's a land of movie that is going to get a 7 throughout this thing. So it
Correct.
sullies the 7. So I've got
Correct.
to, 6 is like, I mean, when I was a professor, if I gave someone a 60 out of 100, they failed. I don't want it to be that. It's more like, when
That's
you
why I
give
gave
someone
it a
like,
6.5.
yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. I'm going to give it a 6.5 where you got a D, but you didn't fail. There you go.
That's what there's room for improvement, just a lot
Yeah.
of it. I
Yeah.
just listen, I know that it's not easy and you know that it's not easy to write these things, right? And they swung big. I'm really proud of them for having the opportunity to make it. And I really do like the destination ones. They were fun. The
Hmm.
accents was fun. The mystery was um sweet. It just didn't come home, but, appreciate the effort though, because there are some
Yes.
that I did not appreciate the effort, and that is not this. I don't think, you hate yourself and when you because you watched it. It's not that
Yeah.
movie. It was just. It didn't
Yeah.
it didn't bring it home for me.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, that is us. That was fun. We have I think next week is when the movies start to double
Yeah.
per
Yeah.
week for us. So, I'm not watching them all, but,
No.
but I think that, definitely look out for not our Facebook and other places just because we're gonna start to put up which ones we are watching after reading them and say which we're excited for, because there's definitely some interesting ones coming up and
Hmm.
not on the classic channels of Hallmark and Lifetime. So, there are others, and we're gonna watch some of those too. So, definitely look out for that. So, that's us for now. We're so excited to be doing this with you because, we're gonna be watching these movies, but it's nice to have a forum just to speak our truth and to, talk about it. So we're really happy to be able to do it with you. So till next
Yay.
time.
Yes. So be sure to find us on Instagram, the number
Right.
4, the love of tinsel, Facebook,
Mhm.
number 4, the love of tinsel, or our website, which is fortheloveoftinsel.com. If anybody goes to websites anymore, because it seems like they don't. But thank you so much. And please tell your friends about us. And we want to thank our amazing producer, Dwayne Prefume, and Nika Troy, our production assistant. So thanks everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye.